Hello, everyone. We are Koto. Koto describes itself as optimists who are in the pursuit of brand excellence. Again, we are all over the world. We started in London around 10 years ago, but now have studios in London, Berlin, LA and Sydney and New York. And we're just a team of people who are trying to make the best work of our lives. So whether that's copywriters and strategists through to motion designers, illustrators, all the rest of it. There's 2 people on stage today, but we're taking credit for lots and lots of hard work from over 100 people around the world. We'll show you a bit of work we've been up to recently and then into seasoned. Thank you. We're not actually going to talk to you about Koto today. We're going to talk to you about an initiative we started cooking up a few years ago, which was our sort of approach to trying to help creatives and budding creatives get into the brand industry. How can we demystify branding and help people sort of explore it as a possible career? And we wanted to capture the optimism of Koto and do this in a fun and engaging way. We're not the only people who are trying to do this. We just thought we could help in a way that felt really authentic to us.
Yeah, so right now, Seasoned is live, and you can go and have a look at the website. But today we want to talk about how we actually got here, so what the process was going from very initial idea to where we are today. And it was June 20th, 2023. A few of us at Koto really wanted to try and make something. We weren't really sure what it was, but it was basically to try and make a bit of a difference in the industry. And we put a call out on the Slack to ask basically if anyone was interested in making some kind of platform to help people navigate their way into that industry. And luckily, loads of people were interested. Everyone was really keen. So we got a bit of a team together. It was basically most of Koto London, so about 30 of us. And it wasn't just designers, it was writers, strategists, client services, motion and digital designers too. So everyone really was interested in making something for all these people who, might not have a normal way of getting into the industry.
Yeah, so we had a team that was really energized and excited to start, but what we need next is a brief. So we asked ourselves a really simple question, like how can we, if we can, make getting into the design industry feel a little less scary? But also selfishly, we wanted to have a little bit of fun whilst doing so. So like any self-respecting branding agency, we have a team, we have a brief, we need a Slack channel, and you'll see through this presentation we're slightly obsessed with Slack, and that is sort of like where we share lots of our ideas and lots of our optimism. So yeah, we have a team, we have a brief, we have a Slack channel. Now we need to work out how to do a process. As Dylan said, 30 people on a project is a bit crazy. Usually there's 6 or 8 of us, and we have a few weeks. But the exciting thing there is we had to try new processes. We had to work cross disciplines at all levels. But what we had was some pizzas. It was 4 p.m. on a Wednesday. We had good energy, and we split into 3 teams to start to explore what this could be.
And we came up with loads of thoughts, ideas, sketches, references, and we just started sort of grouping them into categories. We kept asking ourselves, like, how do we make something that is sort of interesting and engaging, but also feels different in the space? And we sort of started to land on this idea of a platform to start to educate people. And then after a few more sessions, so this is sort of after a couple more weeks, we had 2 routes that really stood out to us as the strongest. We had route 1, which was Koto U. This was really sort of inspired by the visual vernacular of teams, togetherness, and that sort of like classic Americana college aesthetic. And this route was all about leaning into education in a really big way. And then route 2, which was basically the opposite of that. If we really want to appeal to people who aren't in the industry, do we even need to look like education? And could we start to take inspiration from alternative groups and movements to make something that feels a little bit more youthful and fresh?
And we thought they looked pretty cool. Like, we were quite happy with ourselves, but like, we were a bit worried that it felt a little bit serious. And like, especially route 2 was like nice graphic design, but it didn't really feel like much, and maybe it was actually added a barrier. Maybe cool graphic design, there's a lot of it out there. Maybe that's not what the world needs. Maybe there is another way. So there was a third route. There was something in the background that was starting to get quite excited, and it was something unexpected. It was Delia Smith holding an egg. But what's really nice about this sort of visual vernacular of food and cookery is, like, throughout the ages, no matter where you're from, what age you are, cookery and food is a conduit for conversation. People get around, they share tips and tricks, and especially cookery books and programs, it like takes this amazing finished thing and shows you how to do it step by step, really easy, no barriers. So it's true to culture, but it's also true to Koto. This is Koto London's kitchen. This is an obscenely big blue table, which we all get around every day and sort of like judge each other's dishes for breakfast and lunch. But also, like, all of our meeting rooms are egg-themed for some reason, and our amazing illustrator, Niall, sort of created these. We do bake-offs. Everything sort of comes back to food, so it felt really true to us as well.
We also thought, from a graphic design point of view, there's just so much to pull from. We really resonated with like a few key cooking tropes as well. I think like that step-by-step approach of breaking things down and making things easy to understand is really compelling from our point of view. And then also this like absolute maximalism of food in the 70s and 80s. And maybe there's some weird parallel there between people coming up with brand new dishes and us coming up with brand new ideas to try and fill a brief. And lastly, those sayings and phrases that are so prevalent in kitchens and cookery just felt like they were so aligned with our world of design and branding. And then we started making some stuff. So we were experimenting with typography, imagery, messaging to come up with an interesting take on this sort of cooking cum branding mashup. And everyone was really excited. It started leading to sort of new ways of working. We were working in ways where it was a little bit more touch and go, and you could kind of, in your downtime, maybe you'd make a few things, and people were making weird stuff that they might not necessarily make for a client.
Yeah, so we pride ourselves on not having much of a hierarchy, but this was self-initiated from London, so we did have to go to Joey, the CCO, and be like, we've made some stuff, what do you think? Give us some money. And he absolutely loved it. He loved the third route, he got really excited, and we ended up with the perfect brief was, make it weirder. So Dan, the ECD of London, obviously couldn't sleep, 8:36 in the morning, let's get weird. Like, we were all really energized about this direction. So yeah, we have a direction, we have a route. So first of all, we need a name. So it wasn't always called Seasoned. We came up with this because we thought it was great for a few reasons. Obviously, it sort of transports us immediately to the world of food, but it also like helps show our role in that relationship. So as a seasoned professional, you can start to impart some knowledge, hopefully, maybe. But also it sort of captures the optimism and energy of Koto, of the work we try and create. And we sort of loved that idea and how we could start to create a brand and this be the name for it. So we have a name. Next, like the whole reason we started to do this really was experimentation and play. So what's good about not having client work and deadlines and sort of people paying budgets is you can just start to play with new techniques. This is 2023, like June, July. So AI is sort of a little bit ropey, as you can see, but we got to like experiment with new tools. It's very ropey actually in 2023, and there's some like unhappy accidents, but along the way we started to learn and understand this technology, and yeah, there's some weird stuff as well. But like as the main visual vernacular, what we started to create had it had the energy of that cookery programs, hints to the past, the maximalism of food, but also everything's sort of not as it seems, and hopefully it starts to make you want to unpack it a little bit. Everything's sort of the wrong texture and a little bit unusual.
And then we started getting into the details, so starting to think about things like how do we, create a similar feeling within our typographic voice.
And again, we've wanted to create typography and try new tools. Dylan's been making type in his spare time, but this is just a great opportunity that we actually made our first typeface at Koto, and now we've made a few for clients. So actually that play and experimentation, new ways of working, different shaped teams, really started to pay off, not just for our creativity and our appetite, but also for the work we make.
And the type brief was basically how do we make a font feel sort of tasty and nutritious, which is quite strange, but was really interesting, and obviously came out with season sans, very bouncy and fun, round. It's kind of weird and a bit wrong, but for us it was inviting and eye-catching and bold, and that was the sort of most important thing. And then we started putting all these pieces together, so using type, imagery, these graphic elements that we were developing along the way, and also copywriting and motion, and we started putting all of these pieces together to start to actually build the season brand.
Yeah, so that's all great, and it looks great, but how do we launch it? So with the rest of the project, we followed the same sort of process. Let's all get together, let's come up with some ideas, and let's be a little bit weird and try and have some fun with it. So there was a few rogue ones. We ended up deciding, let's just have another Koto bake-off. Let's make some food inspired by the sort of visual world we've created. And then let's just shoot in the kitchen a little be-real film that can be this shareable bit of content that feels like fun, energetic, but something that we can just share, and hopefully people feel like they want to be a part of it.
And then we also started giving all this work, which was absolutely chaotic, to the digital and motion teams at Koto, and they basically just make the work way better. They also just make sense of the absolute chaos that we produce as designers. But it's really about making sure that we can bring the joy and the fun from the rest of the brand into all the little moments, sort of peppering it throughout the digital experience. Even things, such a simple way you're saying, come back soon, and making that something that feels enjoyable and interesting and interactive. And then we worked with our friends at Good City to bring all of this together into an actual digital experience too.
Yeah, and hopefully that culminates in a brand that feels warm and welcoming. It has that optimism and fun that we wanted to bake into the process, but also hopefully lowers the barrier to entry, and the video plays now, and feels like something you want to interact with and learn more about. As Dylan said, we work with Good City, incredible dev partner that sort of kept saying yes and kept wanting to push this as much as we did. So now we have this digital hub, which hopefully will be a bit of a cheat sheet for anyone who wants to know how we approach branding. There's going to be 4 books on there that sort of unpack that, and then hopefully in the future a little bit more unpacking folios and what should be in there and how do you turn up to an interview, and definitely don't wear a blazer and all that stuff.
And yeah, we're also releasing new content soon. So we've got 2 new books that are in the making. One on making your ideas a reality, and the second is how to deliver a project to a client. And we also want as many people as possible to sort of be engaged with Season. So we will be using Koto's Instagram to host Q&As, announce new season content. So we'll be doing an Ask Us Anything soon. So if you'd like to submit to that, you can. And hopefully in the process, we're making the design industry a little bit less scary and a little bit more inviting, and trying to sort of break down some of those barriers that I think graphic design has had for a very long time.
Yeah, this is like the bit where we reflect and what have we learned? And at Koto, we work really fast. We do a lot. We turn a lot of projects around in a few weeks and months if we're lucky. But what we actually learned here is it's fine for things to take time, and sometimes they do, and it took fucking ages.
Yeah, so it took from first Slack message to It's Nice That article was 1 year, 7 months, and 10 days, so quite a long project.
Also, I think it's important to remind ourselves that you get out what you put in. Like, hopefully you can feel the optimism and the fun. That was the input, and hopefully you can feel that in the output. And I think it's important to have fun when you make work, and hopefully that is reflected when you sort of press print. Also, play is important. Like, we tested new ways of working, and I think it's actually permeated the culture at Koto. And now we sort of get together much more often. We sit together in project teams, and it makes the team feel much more sort of tight there. Also, playing around with new processes, new tools, all the rest of it. I think we've learned quite a lot along the way.
Yeah, and the end really is just the beginning. So technically, we've finished the season brand, but yeah, we're going to be doing way more stuff soon. So we're going to be doing more talks, more portfolio reviews, connecting with more people who aren't yet in the industry, and hopefully sort of shimmying them in.
But I think it's really worth noting that we're not the only ones doing this, and we're definitely not going to solve it on our own. There's loads of other amazing initiatives and resources out there. If you're interested in branding, please check out these guys, because they're doing great work, and they've been doing it a lot longer than us. We're just trying to do our little bit. Thank you.
Thank you.